Hello everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com, back again with another edition of WWE Monday Night Raw Graded from none other than the Indy City of Chicago, Illinois. Do you see what I did there? You don't get jokes like this on any YouTube channel. This is prime stuff. This is prime stuff and it's free. Let's get on with the video. I don't feel well. Apologies for that. Yes, illness has struck the Cultaholic office. We're all dropping like flies over here, but I'm in to do Graded, and don't worry, because if there was anything that could perk me up, it will be an opening segment featuring my two favouriteest wrestlers of all time ever, and all of ours as well, all of your favourite wrestlers too, Triple H and Shawn Michaels, D, Generation X, suck it, suck my... So Triple H and Shawn Michaels took to the ring after being jumped after the match at Super Showdown when Kane and Undertaker attacked them and humiliated the boys, and predictably, this was a promo to set up a rematch at Crown Jewel, which is probably going to be a tag team match between the Brothers of Destruction and the Generation X. This promo was good in that Triple H and Michaels are really good at delivering promos, but weird in that it was about respect and mountains. Overall, I'm going to give this a B-. It was probably a B+ caliber promo, maybe a B, that sort of region. Nothing mind-blowing, nothing world-changing, but delivered by two men who really know how to cut a promo and get a crowd behind them or against them, depending on their babyface or heel dynamic. But at the same time, I don't want to see it. I just don't want to. If Triple H versus The Undertaker for the last time in Australia taught me one thing, it's that Undertaker can't do it anymore. Shh. It's not very nice to say, but have a sit down, Mark. Have a sit down and a nice cup of tea, please. For the love of God. Next up, we have Bobby Lashley versus Kevin Owens, and this was really, really weird. So Lio Rush had a microphone on the outside, and with no prior build, with a build entirely consisting of Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush acting like confident baby faces, and Kevin Owens acting like Kevin Owens, i.e. a massive heel, suddenly we've got a double turn out of nowhere. Out of literally nowhere. As in, Bobby Lashley was teaming with John Cena, of all people, on Saturday, and now he's a heel. I mean, I agree with it. I think that Bobby Lashley should be a heel, not a babyface, but this came out of nowhere. So the match was okay, I guess. It was all right between Lashley and Owens, and then Lio Rush was on the outside with a microphone, like Abraham Washington, remember him? Kind of just hyping up his boy, Bobby Lashley, throughout the match as the match was going on a live mic. It was very bizarre and a little bit annoying as well. And I get that it was meant to be annoying because it led up to the double turn, but at the same time, it was more like actual X-Pac heat rather than good heat, I think. In my opinion, anyway. So yeah, Bobby Lashley won. Kevin Owens injured his leg in the finishing sequence, and then Bobby Lashley returned to the ring and beat down Kevin Owens and focused on the injured leg. So he's definitely a heel now. Owens is definitely a babyface. I don't know what to give this. I'm gonna give it a C+. The reason this gets a C+ is because it was a decent match, I guess. And also, I like that Bobby Lashley's heel now, but I don't think that should make Kevin Owens babyface, and I hope that's not quite where they go with this. Also, I don't understand where the build was to this at all. It was out of the blue, there was no logic behind it at all. I hope it gets explained in future episodes of Raw, but I don't think it will do. I think they're just gonna go, Bobby's a dick now, and Kevin's a lovely boy. Next up, Elias hit the ring. He's been on fire recently with his promos. He did a song mocking Chicago, the Chicago Cubs, who I believe are one of the old baseball teams in the Chicago area, and also mocked John Cena's hair, which got a nice big pop from the crowd. But at the same time, he then got cut off by Ronda Rousey at the end of the promo, and that was it for Elias. No further part in the story, nothing to... He just literally opened the segment, got cut off, and then presumably went home. Went back to his hotel. I'm gonna give this a D because I love Elias, like I really do, and I think he's an underrated wrestler as well as a really good promo guy, but these segments only work when he's cut off and it serves to further a storyline or a feud involving Elias. Not just this, just shove him in, gets cut off he goes. It doesn't work, it doesn't make sense. Next up, a rematch from Super Showdown, one of I think 2 rematches on this show, which kind of furthers the argument of many that Super Showdown was just a glorified house show and all that sort of thing, but you know, I don't want to get into that whole debate right now, but this was the Bella Twins and Ronda Rousey versus the Riott Squad. So in this match, a bit that I really liked was that Brie Bella went for the yes kicks on Liv Morgan and everyone went, oh my God, be careful, do not knock her out again. But Liv Morgan had it scouted, ducked it, dragged Brie Bella down, and they brawled on the canvas. I liked that spot. It was probably the only thing in the match that I really enjoyed because it was kind of a sloppy match. There were a lot of different women in there with different levels of experience, different levels of talent, and it was always going to be a bit of a struggle as it was at Super Showdown. Ronda Rousey got the win, forcing Ruby Riott to tap out to the armbar, And while that happened, the other two members of the Riott Squad tried to get in the ring to call off the submission, and Liv Morgan was tripped by Nikki Bella on the outside, and Sarah Logan fell over of her own accord because Brie Bella wasn't in position. Oh, you've probably seen it on Twitter now as a GIF, because it's all over the place. So I'm going to give this match a D. It probably wasn't on the whole as bad as that, but, well, okay, I'll explain, I'll break it down. So basically this match was put together well. I enjoyed the sequences and the storytelling throughout the match and the psychology, but it could have been executed a lot better, particularly, and I don't want to unfairly, rag on her or anything, but particularly Brie Bella, who really doesn't look capable at this level. Like, it sounds harsh, but I'm just being honest. There was a spot where someone gave her a snapmare or something like that. She basically had to do a standard sort of front flip bump and, nearly necked herself on the canvas. And it was just a bit like watching her do every single thing. You're kind of like, don't hurt yourself or someone else, please. And I really don't know if that's the sort of position she should be in, given her level of ring rust. I mean, she's really, really worsened since, her previous stint. However, the post-match segment was a lot better. The Bella Twins finally turned heel, turning on Ronda Rousey, beating her down. Ronda got a bit of a comeback in against two people, which is, putting her over at the right level of dominance, but ultimately she couldn't overcome the sneaky Bella Twins, who were kind of double teaming her, and like one would sneak around the back, the other one would, square up to her, and it was all a bit like Conor McGregor in the Octagon. No, don't want to get involved with that whole debate. Just want to say that I'm really glad that Khabib won, and he mauled him. But back to wrestling now. This gets a B. I enjoyed it. I thought it wasn't the most spirited beatdown in the world ever, but I'm so glad, like I'm glad that Bobby Lashley's now heel, I'm so glad that the Bella Twins are now heel, because, right, I know, like, some of my friends in real life, as in non-wrestling fans, not in our sordid little bubble, but I know people, like, I've got a friend, for example, who watches Total Bellas. She loves it. She doesn't know a thing about wrestling, but she knows John Cena and Daniel Bryan and the Bella Twins because she loves Total Bellas. She loves reality TV. It's questionable. But, like, she really loves Nikki Bella and Brie Bella. She thinks they're amazing. She thinks they're wonderful people. I don't know. Maybe I'm not the target demographic. I don't know how you can watch Raw, though, and see the Bella Twins and the way they go on, and they're all, like, superior and smarmy, and they laugh at people a lot. They laugh at the heels. There's a very general sense of we're better than you and arrogance about them. And I don't know how you can look at that as just a standard wrestling fan and find them baby faces, but people love them. People love the Bella Twins, and I don't get it. And personally, I'm delighted that they've turned them heel because they're much better as heels, particularly Nikki, who's a really, really good heel and the better of the two in the ring. So I'm relieved more than anything that they finally turned, but man, it was a journey to get there. It was a journey and a half. Next up, Bayley and Finn Balor defeated Jinder Mahal and Alicia Fox. We've seen this match a few times, but then again, it was quite a slick match. It was a pretty good one, and I have no major complaints, I suppose. And Bayley and Finn Balor's chemistry really is good. They do genuinely work together well, and you can tell that in real life they are actually friends. So, I'm probably going to give this a B-. It was okay, and the babyface has got a nice big win to pop the crowd. Next up, whoa, here we go. It was time for the World Cup qualifier battle royal for the WWE World Cup that's taking place at Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia to determine the best in the world. So first of all, Baron Corbin's walking to the ring backstage because it's his idea to set up this match, and as we'll come to learn, it was a bit of a heelish plot to kind of engineer a match that he himself can win so he can get into the World Cup competition. He's stopped backstage by Heath Slater, who says, "Baron, I would love to enter the World Cup to represent the great state of West Virginia," which rang an alarm bell in my head. I thought, you know what? I thought this World Cup was going to be an opportunity for, like, Andrade Almas to represent Mexico, for Pete Dunne to represent the UK and that sort of thing. And now Heath Slater's going, I want to represent West Virginia, and I'm thinking, do WWE know what they're doing? Do they know what a World Cup is? Baron Corbin says, no, Heath, you're just not very good, mate. You're just literally not very good at wrestling. There's no way you're going to win, so just get out of my way. You're not in this match. Then we cut to ringside, and the ring is full of people that Heath Slater could just beat the piss out of if he wanted to. It was a bit strange. So I have a little list written down, not of all of them, but basically these are my notes of the match. They are jobbers with a lot of R's. There's a guy in a Cossack hat. There's a guy with a sombrero and a lucha mask at the same time. There's a guy who just has Luxembourg written on his sash because he is from Luxembourg and their stereotypes aren't visual enough. And there is also the Conquistador from back in the day with it, where Edge and Christian would dress as the Conquistador and come out and be all like, you know, comedy and stuff. Because we know it's Edge and Christian, but everyone's pretending that it's not. For fun reasons, for fun purposes. Basically, Baron Corbin eliminated like everyone. I think Luxembourg guy actually was the penultimate person to be eliminated by Corbin. I think he actually held on for quite some time. So congrats to you, Luxembourg guy. I wish you all the best in the future, and I hope to see you like headline WrestleMania one day. But then, you know, La Conquistador slid back in, all goldened up, threw Baron Corbin out after 3 German suplexes and an Olympic slam to reveal that it was none other than Kurt Angle. Lovely big pop for that. It was admittedly a very fun moment. I just don't know what to grade it. I have no idea. So I don't want to sound like a massive killjoy or like a huge spoilsport or anything, but I'm gonna give this, don't hurt me please, I'll give it a B-. I was going to give it a C+, but I'm going to give it a B- because you know what? This was fun, and wrestling is meant to be fun, and I get it, and that's fine, but I have several issues here. First of all, this does not make the World Cup look prestigious at all. I was really excited for the competition, actually. It was the thing I was looking forward to most at Crown Jewel, more than DX versus Kane and Undertaker, and more than the Universal Championship match. I was like, how are they going to utilize this World Cup tournament? And it turns out they're going to have a qualifier on Raw made by Baron Corbin so that he can win, filled with jobbers, and then Kurt Angle sneaks in and wins. I enjoy the Kurt Angle sneaking in and winning bit. That was fun. But this does not make the World Cup look prestigious at all, in the slightest. Problem number 2, do WWE know how World Cups work? First of all, because we had Heath Slater backstage wanting to represent his home state. Secondly, because 2 people have now qualified for the World Cup in Saudi Arabia. 2 out of, I believe, 8 people. And they're both representing the USA. Kurt Angle and John Cena. I don't know what's going on. I thought this was a World Cup. I know the joke about Americans, like if some team wins, you know, the World Series, it's called the World Series, but it's actually just the Yankees or whatever. I get it. I understand that Americans sometimes maybe don't recognize the rest of the world in international competition, but is that true? I thought it was just a stereotype, but literally this seems to be unfolding before our eyes. Anyway, next up we had a babyface, but I can't believe I'm so distraught after a segment that I gave a B-. I'm like, thank God that's over. Moving on. We had a babyface versus babyface match between friends, Ember Moon and Nia Jax. They are friends, do not forget that. Commentary let us know that they are friends. Which makes me think that one of them is going to probably turn soon, but they didn't here. Ember Moon won by count out when Nia Jax hit the side of the ring and Ember Moon slid in to beat the count. Now, since Nia Jax has returned from her little hiatus, she's been put over quite strong, so I don't understand why she's suddenly losing by count out because she herself ran into the side of the ring. Makes it look a little bit weak, and for that reason, I'm going to give this a C-. It was fine, and I think Ember Moon particularly has great promise, but I just didn't enjoy this segment really. Wasn't really for me, didn't understand it. Not at all, didn't get it, didn't know what was going on. Someone explain. Next up, Trish Stratus is in the ring, and while she is good on the mic, you could tell in this segment that she's not as good as she used to be, but that's partly a good thing because it was mainly because she was overshadowed by Alexa Bliss, who is literally one of the best promos in the world right now, and this was excellent from her. Mickie James was there too, doing a good job as a backup, and they all had a little argument in the ring. Well, first of all, the heels were on the ramp because they're obviously cowardly heels. Trish was like, you know what? You want to talk a big game? Why don't you come down to the ramp, you know, and come down to the ring right now? We'll have a fight before Evolution. We'll do it right now. And then Alexa and Mickie got in the ring and Mickie went, it's not happening right now because we're in Chicago, and as you know, Trish, nothing good ever happens in Chicago. Money in the Bank 2011 happened in Chicago, and that's one of my favourite pay-per-views ever. Mickie. Hey Mickie, you're so lying. You're so lying, you blow my mind. Hey Mickie. Trish was like, you know what, I've got an idea. Instead of having a one-on-one match between me and Alexa at Evolution and between Mickie and Lita, let's have a tag match instead. Lita came out, Trish and Lita ran off the heels. It was a big pop, it was a fun moment, and I actually do feel quite relieved. I was looking forward, I guess, to Alexa versus Trish and Mickie versus Lita, but I think a tag match saves more space on the card for more current, more relevant women, potentially some from NXT. And yeah, I just think it was a good call all around. For that reason, I'm going to give this a B+. I think this was a good segment. People were good on the mic, especially Alexa Bliss, and a tag match I'm more looking forward to than I would 2 singles matches, and mainly also because it saves space on the card. Sensible bit of booking here from WWE. Great stuff. Next up, Bobby Roode and Chad Gable versus the Ascension. Bobby Roode was doing well, and then Chad Gable blind tagged himself in and hit the Chaos Theory for the win, being the cocky partner to Bobby Roode's babyface helper, and Bobby Roode's annoyed by that. We've literally seen this before. We've literally seen this exact segment before. I'm not exaggerating here. It's not like when WWE spin their wheels with booking for a little while and book a feud in the same way a few weeks in a row, like we're seeing with the Big Shield versus Dogs of War feud at the minute. Not like that. It's much less imaginative than that. They've cut and pasted a previous segment from a previous Raw some other week and just plopped it in the middle of this one in Chicago. And I'm so annoyed. They've just done the same thing as they did like a month and a bit ago. Oh my, it gets an E, by the way. because I'm really not happy. The match was all right, but the writing is so lazy. Again, that's not a knock on any of the men in this match, particularly Roode and Gable. I'm a fan of both. I think they're both great. I'm just so annoyed at the booking here. So annoyed. The Authors of Pain came out and destroyed everyone after the match, which you could argue is a bit of a different thing, but we've seen that from another week too. So they've just taken two previous bits from the same feud, stuck them together, and there you go. This was my least favourite thing on the show. Next up, Paul Heyman came out to remind us all that Brock Lesnar exists and that he's waiting for his shot at the Universal title at Crown Jewel. This was a typical Paul Heyman promo. It was decent, but, well, no, it wasn't just decent, it was Paul Heyman, it was bloody good, but I'm only going to give it a B because it was literally just shoved in the show, and it's really a good example of how these international shows like Crown Jewel and Super Showdown are really hindering WWE's long-term booking and the slickness of their shows. Their shows don't feel smooth anymore, they feel really jagged and really sort of thrown together and compromised by these big Saudi Arabia shows. So Paul Heyman's appearance here wasn't even a main part of the show and just was kind of stuck in before the main event. It was very odd. Still a good performance from Paul though, so what can you expect from him though? And finally, the big main event of Monday Night Raw, the three members of the Shield, Rollins, Ambrose and Reigns, against the three heels, Drew McIntyre, Dolph Ziggler and Braun Strowman. Story from this match is that the heels were all arguing a little bit backstage beforehand, where they were all like getting in each other's way and all getting annoyed at each other, especially Ziggler for losing in Australia, and then Strowman had to remind both of them, you're working for me. So that was quite cool. It was quite a cool little prelude to the match. And then the Shield were presented as a united front. They did one of their cool, sexy promos on the handheld thing where they're all like, we're united, the Shield will remain, all the ladies love us. They didn't say that bit, but we know it's true. The match itself was good. It was good, a good main event. Hampered by two things, it went over 20 minutes, which was fine for a match of this scale. But as I say, two major negatives. One, the Dean Ambrose stuff afterwards, because after the match, the Shield lost to the heels, and then Ambrose rolled out the ring and walked away, and they're again teasing this heel turn from Dean Ambrose, and it was cool at first when they were doing it, and now they've kind of rammed it down our throats a little bit, and it's becoming a little bit telegraphed. So if he does eventually turn, the impact will be greatly lessened, and if he doesn't turn, then everyone will be like, well, that was a bit of a waste of time, why did they even tease it? I hope they got something around the corner to really spring a surprise on us, otherwise like a Roman turn. If Roman turned instead, all would be forgiven. That would be class. The second thing that hindered this match was that literally we've seen the same match a few days ago at Super Showdown. So this was another example of the Australia show getting in the way of the usual booking and the usual storytelling. It's been a tricky time to be a wrestling fan right now, tricky period really, with all these shows going on and affecting one another, not in a good way. But I'm going to give this segment, this main event, this match, a B. Should have been more. Should have been more than a B. It was a better match than a B, but all these exterior factors just limit it to a B, unfortunately. So finally, my overall grade for Raw in Chicago is, I think it's going to have to be a C. There was some good stuff on this show, there was some good wrestling, but ultimately, there was a lot of frustrating things as well. Clearly, these outside shows have had an effect on the main schedule, and I guess it's really stagnated a lot of the storylines, particularly the Universal title and particularly Ronda Rousey and the Bellas. That women's division, man, is so topsy-turvy. Yes, Ronda deserves to be at the top, absolutely, but then you've got Bayley, Sasha Banks, who's AWOL right now, Nia Jax. Oh, is Sasha injured maybe? I don't know. Nia Jax, Ember Moon are all slumming it at the bottom of the card, and then you've got you've got the Bella twins chumming it up with Ronda Rousey, or turning on her in this case, and it's just it still feels a bit topsy-turvy. I'm not satisfied with Raw right now, and that's a shame because the roster is literally amazing. There's so much talent on there. Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, some of the best wrestlers in the world. And yet, some weeks we just get this, and it's really frustrating. But you know what? We're all alive, we're all here. We'll be here next week as well, so yeah, got a bit existential there at the end, really. So that is it for this week of Monday Night Raw's action on Graded. I've been Jack from Cultaholic.com. Thank you very much for watching this video. You can follow me on Twitter if you want, at Jack the Jobber. You can follow all of us at Cultaholic, and check out our Patreon too, patreon.com/Cultaholic. And never forget, of course, to join us.